Hey guys, it's Sean and Dave from Saturday Morning Cartoons here, and we want to give a shout out to some fantastic people who have gone over to our Patreon account to support this podcast. So we need to give a huge shout out to Derek Haynes,
Alex Kazanis,
Carson Clark,
Jamal Newman,
Jason Woods,
Melanie Harker,
Allison Keene,
the one and only Sean Paul Ellis.
Oh, and the wonderful David Trumbore.
Now, it might sound kind of strange that we're thanking ourselves and other familiar names that you know from the podcast, but we really want you guys to know that we are putting our hard-earned dollars into the show as well, so it's only fair, if we're asking you to do the same, that we did it first. And even if you can't contribute anything to a monthly Patreon, we just ask that you go and share the Patreon link and just let people know about the show if it's something you enjoy. So again, you can head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons, make a contribution, or just share the wealth. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the Motor Sphere in New Motor City. I'll be your crew chief, Dave Trumbore. Joining me as always, Team Fast X's newest unlimited series racer. It's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, bud?
David, buddy. I'm doing well. How about yourself? Vroom, 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 vroom.
Who's firing it up? It's getting ready to go.
Yeah.
What's that? What's the cake song? Going the Distance? How's it start?
She's going the distance.
How's it
She's
start,
going for speed.
Yeah, going for speed.
Speed. Oh, that's nice.
That's
I
sweet.
like that. It starts off reluctantly crouched
That's
at
it.
the starting line.
Nice.
Engines.
That's gonna be your
pumping in time.
that's gonna be your racer nickname. Sean Paul Ellis, reluctantly crouched.
I thought it was gonna be cake.
Or cake's also a good
Because
nickname.
the other week, where all my cake bros at?
That's right.
Berry Bros and Cake Bros. Call back to 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, man, how time
Yeah,
flies.
get right back into that strawberry
Completely
shortcake
forgot
jam.
about that. I never thought that a NASCAR cartoon and strawberry shortcake would find itself some crossover appeal, but I guess here we are.
Oh man, it's good, but it's not good.
And speaking of good but not good, we're going to talk about NASCAR Racers tonight. Now, why are we talking NASCAR Racers specifically tonight?
Man, because you guys are awesome, and on social media, every once in a while, you will message us and you will say, when are you going to do this cartoon? And so guess what? Caleb Wilder from Twitter at Ying Dark, who asked us, so when are you guys going to get deep into Fox Kids? We're getting deep into Fox Kids
deep.
Tonight.
Uncomfortably deep.
Like enough where you're just like, maybe we shouldn't be alone in the room together. Like, call an adult or HR.
Like real close to like illegally deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say balls deep, but I think we're pulling back.
We're definitely
pulling back at that last
pulling
moment.
out a little bit. We're gonna.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Kids
Jeez.
cartoons.
Oh shit. God, guys. So if you are not familiar with this show, don't worry about it. Let me fill you in with some context here. So, NASCAR Racers is an animated television series by Saban Entertainment, 26 episodes, which ran from 1999 to 2001 on the Fox Kids block. The show's theme song was performed by Jeremy Sweet of Dragon Ball Z's Rock the Dragon fame. Before beginning its proper run in 2000, NASCAR Racers premiered as a 3-part TV movie. As with many Saban properties acquired by Disney, they have not made any home video releases for the series.
What a crying shame that this
Oh no!
this car fire is not available on the home video. I love that they released the first 3. Okay, so here's my train of thought, right?
Yeah.
I read that they released the first 3 episodes as a special TV movie.
Sure.
So I said, hey, why don't we watch the first 3 episodes?
And you're the worst.
Hey, I'm actually the worst because this was torture. At least they were like somewhat connected and pseudo flowed into each other. But there are some things that editing could not fix, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So if you want to know what this is actually about, you may be hearing the name of the title, NASCAR Racers, and just be like, yeah, it's okay, it's a NASCAR cartoon. Got it. Like, I got it.
Oh, no.
No, I'm sorry.
Not at all.
You might think you got it. You don't got it unless you know the show like Caleb. Thanks again, Caleb. So, in NASCAR Racers, 2 rival NASCAR racing teams, Team Fast X and Team RexCorp, compete against each other in the futuristic NASCAR Unlimited division. To protect drivers from crashes, each race car has an inner rescue racer that ejects from the outer body if an accident happens, but these cars also happen to have, like, I don't know, flying abilities, grappling hooks, gladiator-style spokes that come out of their wheels and shred other people's tires. So this is not your regular NASCAR race, at least not yet. Maybe in the future with the Unlimited division it will be. The characters often race on simulators to hone their skills before actual races, and the racers don't just compete on a regular oval track. They compete on a wide variety of courses, including a road course, off-road, mountains, and the Motor Sphere, which is probably my favorite thing from this show. The Motor Sphere. Yikes. How you feeling, bud? You feeling okay going into this?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. I mean, this was... I have to ask the question.
Shoot.
Did you watch NASCAR at all? Did you watch any type of racing at all? I feel like this show targets a very, very specific demographic. And
yeah, I don't know what the demographic is yet, but yeah, I guess.
I mean, I'd like to think that NASCAR is maybe one of those things. Like, I know that I went to a NASCAR race when I was younger with my grandfather, and I was way too young and I could not sit still. Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, let's just watch." I think he wanted to just kind of take me out for like a fun bonding thing. I was way too young to be able to appreciate it, and I later had some family who would really get together and hang out and watch NASCAR on the weekends. And, and I love it. It's like anything else that is probably, or maybe sports related, where there's like a very heavy drinking aspect that's associated with it.
Right.
And most times it really wasn't to watch NASCAR. In fact, NASCAR was the furthest thing. It was on in the background as just sort of white noise. But they were just sort of socializing, hanging out, and drinking.
That
together.
is the whitest possible noise you could actually have, by the way, as a NASCAR race in the background. I grew up a stone's throw from Pocono Raceway. So my dad actually used to work in the medevac helicopter. So they need somebody there in the pit or somewhere close to it in case they need to actually like medevac somebody out, or at the very least they need somebody on the ambulance there stationed ready to go in case they need to take somebody to the hospital. God forbid a wreck or something goes into the stands. So he worked a few of the Pocono races back in the day. My brother was a huge fan, continues to be a huge NASCAR fan. He's a big Jeff Gordon guy, or at least was. I think Gordon's retired now.
You mean, of course, your brother that threatened to kill me in a previous episode?
Yeah, like within 30 seconds of meeting Sean, he threatened to kill him.
Yeah,
that
great.
Was fun times. Also, my brother now host of a afternoon sports show, or co-host of an afternoon sports show on ESPN Lehigh Valley. So head on over to espnlv.com. I believe weekdays from 4:30 to 6:30, and you can listen to my brother Andrew Trumbore threatening strangers with pain and death.
Yeah,
I don't think he does that because he wouldn't get paid anymore if he did that. But
I think that you can probably provoke it out of him if you call him Andy instead of Andrew.
100%.
So,
call in,
guys. If you want to troll Andrew, you know how to do it now.
Yeah, you can
Weakness
do it
acquired,
and he has to restrain himself, which is the funniest thing. We don't have to restrain ourselves on this show.
Nope.
So he's a NASCAR fan. I never get into it. I used to watch it with him and just like kind of fall asleep on the couch. It was one of those things where it's like, I just can't. I get the sportsmanship. I get the competitive nature of it. I'd prefer to watch like Talladega Nights 3 times in a row versus a NASCAR race, but it was just never for me. It was cool because he was into it, so he knew all the stats for all the cars and all the different racers and all the different brands and everything. But even this show, I texted him, like, did you ever watch this? He's like, nah, doesn't ring a bell. So I don't know. They knew they were targeting NASCAR fans or the kids of NASCAR fans. I don't think it ever really reached them. There was supposed to be a time where Fox's broadcast of the live races overlapped with this cartoon. So if there was a race that was going to be on like a Saturday afternoon, this cartoon would kind of lead into it. They're supposed to overlap those two to have like basically to indoctrinate kids to love NASCAR so that when they're old enough that they had money or get their parents to spend money, then they could watch the actual races and be a fan of that too. But I think it was canceled before Fox ever started broadcasting them. So there wasn't really much overlap at all, which probably for the best because this show has next to nothing to do with automotive racing in any sense, except for the theme song maybe?
Yeah, let's get into this theme song.
Let's get into it.
I had to actually go back and watch the Rock the Dragon from Jeremy Sweet Dragon Ball Z intro.
Yeah.
And
you could have just asked me. I could have just done it for you.
Yeah, and it's good. It's fun.
I love it. It's so like not good, but I love it at the same time. It's a lot of fun.
But it feels like a fun kind of rallying
Yes.
cry for the entire show.
And they don't try to do too much with it. Dragon,
Right.
Dragon, Rock the Dragon, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon, Dragon, Rock the Dragon, come get me.
Yeah,
and then
that's
guitar
it.
riff, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then
This theme song. So here, if we're going from minimalism,
Yeah.
the majority of the things that they have are here. It says, "Come on, NASCAR Racers."
Done. Give me my check, please.
And then at the very, very end,
Yeah.
because there has to be a Doritos branding that's the end of it, it's just like Extreme Machines. And you're like, why?
Powered by Cool Ranch.
Like it doesn't make any sense. So we get like, come on, NASCAR Racers. And then at the very end, Extreme Machines. This theme song is 30 seconds of nothing. It's essentially if you were to watch like a Michael Bay movie where they removed all of the fun explosions. I never thought I'd say this about Michael Bay because he is the worst. But they removed all of the fun explosions and made nothing interesting, but just had like intense close-ups and action shots nonstop.
And like weird billboard segues, like a montage of different billboards and video screens. What I liked about this was that I wouldn't say but at least they gave you a sense of the animation style, right? So it blended kind of the traditional hand-drawn 2D with the really bad CG backgrounds and 3D CG stuff. It's really bad. Think like the intro to Johnny Quest, the 90s one. But really only focus on the bad CG. Or take like the worst CG moments from Reboot and put them in a really bad NASCAR cartoon, and it's kind of the same level of bad CG. Or Skeleton Warriors, that intro too. There was this whole sequence and series and trend in the 90s of like just bad CG in your openings.
But I mean, for the time that we would have been watching this as a kid, it would have been revolutionary. When we watch it now,
this was what, 99
17
now?
plus. This is 99 2000, so 17 years later, and we're just like, oh man, like thank God we've made some leaps and bounds in terms of this technology, but still, it's in 2000. Like,
yeah. I think for this, at least, once we get into the show and the animation, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I think because they only really used the 3D CG for like backgrounds and settings and not like characters that had to move around and not really cars too much, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Could have been a real train wreck. Yeah.
I will say for my final thought about this bad theme song was that I had no sense throughout of the people who were going to be involved.
Nope.
The team and the pairing. For all I know, this could have just been a show where cars talk to other cars, and it could have been a Turbo Teen situation, which I'm going to be honest, I probably would have enjoyed more.
Yikes. I don't know about that. A whole squad of Turbo Teens?
Wouldn't be that terrible.
I mean, this show does go some crazy places. It never goes quite that far, but almost sometimes.
I'm going to say
once the cyborg shows up, it's a teaser.
Jesus. In the 27th episode of the series that was never produced, that's when everybody starts turning into cars.
Yeah, they all crash into like nuclear waste somewhere, and they all become Turbo Teens. I'd watch the reboot of that, sure.
Yeah, season 2 of NASCAR Racers is when shit finally picks up.
You just gotta survive season 1, and season 2 is the best. The only thing I'll add to the theme song is the beginning of it. The copies we had, they're kind of hard to hear, but they do say drivers start your engines or something to that effect. So that's like they tease you. They're like, no, this is totally going to be like watching a cool NASCAR race but a cartoon, and then it completely goes off the rails from there.
But they're like, if it's a cool NASCAR thing, but we also put a whole bunch of like Hot Wheels tracks with loops on it, wouldn't that be cool? And
I mean,
you're like
in theory,
maybe.
as a kid's cartoon, sure, but they throw too many bonkers things that none of them really stick. And like you mentioned, from the theme song, you get no sense of the characters. And then throughout the course of the show, I really didn't like anybody that they introduced us to.
Oh, really? I liked a couple people. I can't wait to talk.
Okay,
I can't wait to talk about
That's
them.
a good teaser coming up.
Because they're all garbage.
They're all garbage humans. Primary colored garbage humans.
Yep.
The only other thing is they occasionally will use this theme song throughout the episodes. So if they're getting back in the cars and they're gonna go start a race, then they'll just cue up this theme song again and play the whole damn thing over. As like a rallying cry. Yeah.
They really got their fucking mileage out of this one. Because like you said, every time they get, it's like, come on, NASCAR Racers, and you're like, no, maybe not.
It's the laziest damn thing. And Jeremy Sweet, bro, like, I don't blame you. I wouldn't know what to do with this mess if they handed it to me and we're just like, make a theme song. It's NASCAR with a cartoon. That's it. That's all we got. Go.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you. Let's talk about the animation style of this thing, because there's a number of things going on. There's actually 3 different animation styles within this. The third one's a bit of a hidden. It's not an Easter egg because nobody cares about this cartoon except Caleb.
No.
Sorry.
I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
So what's your first impression? Because you get a hint in the theme song intro, but what's your first impression of just like the traditional stuff?
Sure. So the traditional actual hand-drawn animation style is like a combination of James Bond Jr. and Ultra Force. If those 2 cartoons had a baby, very bright primary colors, it looks like super super thick lines around everything. It's as if they were just like, oof, if there is any ability for a haircut, for like a late 2000 early 90s haircut to bleed into a background, they were just like, double up on that bold border that goes around that hair, because we are not going to let that happen. It's bananas.
Yeah, it's going to look much more natural with everybody's like thick body liner just following him around. I didn't mind that style though. Like, I didn't mind that animation because there was so much stuff going on in the background. And honestly, sometimes when they were kind of against like a 3D background, which didn't happen so much with the characters as much as it did with the cars, but when they were up against that, I actually didn't mind that kind of like separation, that definition, to give them a little bit of depth and space. I was fine with it. It kind of reminded me of like, the ones that you mentioned were pretty good. Also kind of like the X-Men level, just not quite up to snuff with that level of detail. Or even like, I don't know if we talked about Godzilla, the animated series. I can't remember if we did or not. But for some reason, it reminded me of
the
that.
one with Godzuki?
No, not the old one. The one that was spun off of the like 2000.
The one with Matthew Broderick?
Matthew Broderick movie.
Yeah.
It kind of was like, it was definitely that like 99, 2000 level of animation. So if you watched any cartoons at that time, it was that level. Yeah.
Oh man, I was really hoping you were just like, the Bryan Cranston Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
like
Bryan Cranston as a cartoon Godzilla.
Was Bryan Cranston in that film, that rebooted Godzilla?
45 seconds
for like the 15 seconds that he was in there.
Yeah. They sold it like it was. All right, so okay, that's the traditional animation. That's the character design. What do you think about the cars?
Oh man, you called it out perfectly, because this was as if nobody had learned, or it's as if there were no lessons learned from the television show reboot.
Yeah.
And they kept kind of all the bad portions of this, and it was jarring and weird to watch.
And for something you would think, let's walk through this. I'm the producer. I've got all the money. So clearly this is Fantasyland. And you walk in and you say, I've got a great idea about a NASCAR show. I say, awesome, sounds good. Green light. I'm Fox. I'm Rupert Murdoch or whatever. We're going to do that. Let's go. Where are you going to put all your money into design?
Ooh, I'm going to tell you what.
I'm assuming you'll put all your design money into the cars, right?
Probably. I mean, because it's the name of the show, NASCAR.
You would think.
NASCAR Racers.
But
like, I'm going to dump all the money that I have into
that
designing
I've just given you. Yeah.
These futuristic NASCAR unlimited vehicles that look exactly like regular fucking cars.
They don't even look like good cars though. Like they look
they don't.
They look like unfinished Pinewood Derby models. They look like they still had like chiseling or something to do from like that block of wood that you get as a Boy Scout. Or they looked like they were just like boxy and angular and they didn't look cool. This is your golden opportunity to make new NASCAR branded material that you can sell as fucking toys to kids out there, to not only get them invested in the brand itself and buy like the actual like real world models and stuff that they have, but you can get them to buy these crazy, cars that come apart and they form different things and they've got little like actuators and stuff on them. That would have been super cool if they were like designed well. I would have preferred they'd put 90% of the budget into like designing cool cars rather than any of these characters that I cared nothing about. But they didn't really do that.
Yeah, it was weird to watch, especially because that's, we go from this jarring theme song that has little to no content into right out of the gate in this first episode, just nonstop racing.
Yeah. Drops you into a race. Yeah.
Right. It drops you right in the middle of this race. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but this is, like you said, this is really your first introduction to this show.
Yeah,
this is
these
the
shitty
bread and butter
skittering
of,
around on a track.
Yeah, this is the main event.
Yeah.
Is the NASCAR thing. You said it best, and you said this was sort of a way to be able to indoctrinate kids, to get them pumped up, to get them excited. I mean,
look, but I'm disappointed that you did not sell kids a shitload of toys. Like, you've really messed up. Because normally, if your design is so good that kids are going to be like addicted and obsessed with these things, then we have issues on a different level. But I still like respect the business acumen and the attention to detail and the production level of that. This was just like, it was a golden opportunity, and they just kind of screwed it up. The cars look like crap. You couldn't really tell one from another. There's a bunch of shit that happens in these cars, which we'll talk about in the plot, that makes zero sense when it comes to racing of any sort of fair sport. And then the physics of them was just garbage. They were either sliding around on ice, or they would crash into shit but never damage. They were always like the same shape everywhere. Even if they were upside down, they just never. It was a complete mess from the animation standpoint.
The thing that drives me crazy is that we've talked about this before, but Mask, a Kenner product, they did the same thing where they had basic cars, but they transformed in cool ways, or they had interesting additions to them. They had every opportunity, and in fact, they took a ton of swings at being able to do that with the vehicles that are in this show. I just feel like a majority of them were swing and a miss.
Yeah, they're just, the characters were fairly well distinguished from one another, but their cars weren't. And that, that was an oversight. Before we get to the characters, there's one more style of, I don't want to call it animation, but there's one more style of footage in this style. Did you check it?
Yeah,
did you see it?
Absolutely. So it's during one of the scenes where they are they're having sort of this press conference to be able to introduce a lot of the people to the fact that like this new type of racing is coming, and they're
it's like
interviewing
their big
these
media
people
day or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And in the background you see that they actually have like a whole bunch of like live action footage of races,
but just from like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Like they were all
it's like old like stock car shit.
Yeah, like old archival footage. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It definitely caught my attention. Maybe that was what they were going for, but it was just really weird.
I mean, I don't know if this was like a way of them trying to be like, guys, we watch racing stuff too. Don't worry, it's cool. And
it felt like that because there were a couple moments, a couple lines in the show where they definitely referenced some like old NASCAR history. So you could tell that like somebody in the room was like the NASCAR guy, right? He was either like the NASCAR fan, or he was some like producer from NASCAR who was part of the project. It was like, we need to put some more like NASCAR in the NASCAR show because there's like nothing yet. So
like, guys, we got to make a comment here from the guy who's working at the pit about like two notable NASCAR racers that, I'll be honest, when they said those names, I listened to it twice and my immediate thought was, I should write those down and Google those people. And then I went, yeah, no, I don't fucking care.
They rang a bell because I kind of remembered from like the NASCAR history that, do you want to talk about them now?
Yeah,
of
course.
So it was Carl. No, it was, hold on. I combined my two names.
Carl Sagan.
It was Carl Sagan, former NASCAR driver. Carl Sagan. It was Cale Yarborough and Donnie and Bobby Allison. And the cool thing about this was, like, maybe don't make a late 70s NASCAR racer reference for a bunch of like 5 and 6 year old kids, first of all. But the cool thing was, the first televised full NASCAR event, I think it was on CBS, had like, I think multiple crashes or a couple wrecks, and then a thrilling finish, and then this fight because they'd caused each other to wreck or something. I can't remember specifically what it was, but like those are like the three things that people watch NASCAR for, right? So you said like it's a drinking event, but you watch it for thrilling finishes, so like the last 2 minutes. You watch it for wrecks. You watch it to see who's gonna crash and how spectacularly, and who's gonna walk away and all that stuff. And then you watch it for the occasional fight between the drivers once they get out of their cars. I always love when they punch each other in the helmets. That's my favorite.
Wait, do they really do that?
Sometimes you'll see idiots punch each other in helmets, just like in football.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because they're stupid. But
oh my god, I will watch the hell out of some NASCAR fights.
They'll take their helmet off and like smash somebody's windshield with it, which I also love watching somebody use a helmet as a bludgeoning device. That's always fun. Very American.
You-
But like those three things came together
dummies.
for the first broadcast, and that is partially what like launched it into fame. Like everybody loved it. They'd never seen anything like that on TV. They wanted to see it every week if they could, and that was 1979. And the fame has just skyrocketed since then. NASCAR had been around for a long time in various forms, but after that, it just kind of took off. So it was an interesting throwback. Didn't really make any sense to anybody without that kind of knowledge and before Wikipedia. But yeah, it was different.
The only way that I could think that would be an anchor point for anybody is if their dad or like a family member had been a NASCAR fan and knew what those names are.
Cale Yarbrough, yeah.
You know, was watching it with their kid and heard it, and then kind of like it sucked him in a little bit. So the dad was like, maybe you should watch this cartoon, and I'll watch this cartoon with you. You know, as a bonding experience. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, if you find a cartoon like that can do something and has that type of an ability to help you relate with somebody, that's fucking rad.
However,
if you don't, oh man, get ready for the gauntlet.
So I kind of want to run through these characters because all of them are terrible in different ways, and some of them are just like flat out hilarious. In sometimes in ways that are very wrong, and I want to get to them. So we're gonna go in order. We're gonna talk Team Fast X.
Oh please!
Why would you name it Fast X?
I don't know. It sounds like fast sex when you say it.
Yeah.
Which
like
is exactly the opposite.
It sounds like fat sex. Yeah.
Fat sex.
Fast sex. It's like, I don't know if I want my racing team to be fat sex. Pass.
It could have been like Speedco.
It could have been literally anything other than Fast X.
Like Tires Incorporated.
It sounds like a bad, what's the word? Oh my God.
Whiplash Inc.
It sounds like a bad like diuretic. Like it sounds like a digestion aid.
How about this? Road rash stool softener.
Perfect. That's a perfect name.
Yeah, there you go. It's a suppository.
Laughing Clown malt liquor would have been a great.
Just how about Georgie Boy and Company?
Done.
Georgie Boy and Sons.
Georgie Boy and Sons. So Fast X is what we've got. The other team is Rex Core. It's not much better. But at least it fits the name of their owner.
The style of their drivers.
Yeah. Plus that, which is kind of a neat thing. Fast X is just garbage. So speaking of garbage, we've got garbage people in this garbage company. So you've got Mark Charger McCutcheon, who's the son of like a family. He comes from a long line of racing champions. Does he have any other qualities, personality quirks? Can you tell me anything else about him?
So what I did with this is because I was having a hard time with being able to find some of the specifics for characters. I wrote down lines from a majority of these people that I felt encapsulated what they're about.
What you got for Charger?
And for Charger, I can race anybody on anything. Nice. And I was like, well, yeah, way to go, One Dimension.
Yeah. How do you feel about his younger brother, Miles?
His younger brother's a piece of garbage.
I think he has a learning disability.
Also, I want to be very, very clear with this. Regardless of any problems that he has, what I want to talk to everybody who's listening is safety. I'm going to be very clear and very honest with everybody. Is that if you are at a racetrack
or just
and
like
there
in your
are cars
neighborhood
out on the track at all, just stay the fuck off of the road or the racetrack. Why would you run out? And this happened multiple times.
Not even run. Just slowly stroll across, drinking your fizzy pop.
God, it is maddening to watch them like have to ham fist a piece of plot into this and then totally disregard it 2 seconds later when they're just like, don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm just like, no, it's not.
Oh, and also never.
You're concerned about.
Never stop the race.
Yeah.
Never call the race off, whether it's a simulation or not. Always, no matter what catastrophic thing happens, keep that fucking race going. Never stop. Never stop. Just keep it going because the sponsors are paying to see the carnage. I don't know.
Yeah. These people are concerned about money. We'll talk about this when we get to plot.
Oh my God,
money
I'm
in
going
the financial
to go off on all that and these cars and everything else. Yeah.
Money and the financial aspect of this is critically important and unfucking necessary in this cartoon. But for some reason, they blow up a $1 million+ car, and they're just like, "Don't worry, Miles. I'm glad you're all right." I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You have $1 million to spend on this, Miles. Do you? Get your checkbook out. Oh, let's take a look at your sad little allowance, you dick. Like,
at least put that kid to work. The kid was a dick too. So like, he, in one scene, this is part of the plot, but whatever, because it gives you a good idea about his character. Do you have any lines for Miles, by the way?
Yeah, it's the one where he's sitting there unraveling tape, and
what an asshole this kid.
It's like a 50-foot roll of tape, and the guy in the pit's just like, "Can you check and see if this is actually a 50-foot roll of tape?" And it's just him there, and he's going 47, 48, 49. I'm just like, yeah, that's you might actually have a problem.
I think he does, because like, look, he walked out onto the track while these cars are going around at like 200, 300 miles an hour, because it's the future and they can go 300 miles an hour. And then they were just like, well, we'll take him aside because he's real slow. We'll just give him a job like in the garage or whatever. And then he's just counting feet of tape. So they were just like, okay, I guess. Like, I don't know what to do with this kid. He's either been huffing fumes or not huffing enough fumes, or I don't know what. But he's also a dick. He's like a little Bieber dick.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a solution for it. It's just put him in a pair of Heelys with a bunch of fidget spinners and then just push him back out in that track.
Yeah.
Like, problem solved.
Hopefully one with like a slope, like put him at the top of the motor sphere and let him fidget his way on down.
Oh God.
Our introduction to him is like, he goes up, he gets out of the car with his brother. The brother's the main guy, Charger. And, Charger's like being like big brotherly, and he's like, hang out with the team and I'll show you how to race and I'll teach you everything I know, but I've got to go and practice now. And the kid like pretends to like be a good little kid, like a good younger brother, and is like, "Oh, I love you so much and you're a great driver." As soon as he walks away, he turns his baseball hat around backwards, so now he's like a punk kid, right?
Cool.
And he's basically like, "Fuck you, older brother. I'm gonna be a better driver than you ever were," and then walks out onto the track. I hate this kid.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
Terrible.
All right, let's talk about the Fastlers, because this family is fascinating.
Ugh, that was
I almost said Fastlernating. Fastlernating?
Fastlernating? I thought that's what you were going for.
I wasn't, because I held back because it's a real bad pun.
Oh, man.
But
you want to talk
since
to
we're
Megan
there
first?
anyway, you want to get Megan? Yeah, get her.
Yeah.
Get her.
Very, very confusing.
Okay. For like sexually or what?
Oh, no. I mean, like, I got to give credit to her because she's the redhead in this.
Yep.
And they do this thing where they try to be very coy with her, that she's not this great race car driver.
They try to make it look like she's just like a desk person or like a tech smart person, but not a skilled driver. Right.
And we'll discuss the finer details and points on that in a moment. But I mean, it just, I didn't even write down a quote for her because I felt like a majority of the time she was just like, "I want to be a driver," and you're just like, "Yeah, great." I mean, I didn't need to write all like
every time
12
she said
times.
that down. Yeah,
it was just really frustrating.
Like most of these lines, honestly, I didn't think were great. They were just like bad one-liners or just like throwaway dialogue that was just to like further the plot, or just like exposition dumps. Like they weren't even funny in a terrible way. A couple of them kind of caught me off guard because they were like, they came at it from a skewed angle, or just like the delivery of it was awful. But it's nothing we can replicate on the show. So if you really want to watch it, go ahead. Yeah.
I actually think my one line for Megan would just be the moment where she's talking to her dad, which we can jump into in a second, but where she's talking with him on the comm, and she's in the car, and he's just like, "I don't think you should," or like, "I don't think that you should be a racer," and she starts crying, and she goes, "So I guess you've made up your mind." Like,
but even like that is just, I don't know.
Like it's
the single tear.
Yeah, I guess the interesting thing about her is that she has designed a majority of the technology for these cars. But they don't seem to work.
No, that's my problem, is they don't work. These things are like costing a shitload of money. They're basing everything, their entire business practice, around this, and they're crap. They're falling apart. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're overheating and blowing up. They're exploding, possibly killing hundreds of people in the stands. And they're just like, "Great job, Megan. Now you're on the team." Like,
It's as if you were to reward somebody who's not good at a thing by giving them a promotion.
Oh, that never happens in the real world.
Yeah, never happens in the real world, guys. Yeah, never ever.
Never. There's not even a name for it.
Yeah, and then you were consistently bad at that thing that you were doing.
Yeah, still
and
bad.
You're just like, great.
Like increasingly bad at the increasing jobs that you're doing.
Yeah.
So her dad is not actually her dad. It's her adoptive father.
What?
Yeah, she's adopted, apparently.
I did not get that.
I think it was only in the wiki. I don't think it was in this first couple of episodes. They probably drop it as a bomb later when people care, I guess.
Really, that fourth episode hook.
That's
they
it.
gotta say, you've been adopted, but I'm a race car driver.
Yeah, I don't know how those two add up. But so Jack is just kind of like, Jack's the older guy. He's kind of the veteran. He's been around for a while. It's Megan's dad, adoptive dad, but he's also the owner of the team, so he makes all those decisions. Libby is far more interesting. Libby is his wife, who we first meet via hologram, because he's talking to her in, like, I don't know where she is, somewhere in the rainforest during the monsoon season.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. At one point, she's kidnapped by bounty hunters that were secretly hired by Rexton, the rival race car owner.
Yeah?
Yeah, and that's all I got into it. But at some point, he hires...
It was a hard period on the end of that statement that I didn't pick up on.
She's still there.
I was like, where are they going?
Because nobody cared. No, she's super interesting. I would love a spin-off just about like Libby Fassler's jungle adventures, because I don't care what these other idiots are doing. She at least seemed interesting and had like a life going on. But yeah.
Let's get into how about
who else you got?
Steve Flyer Sharp.
This boy's got some problems.
Oh man, well that's actually what my quote is for. It's actually what my quote is for him is, why is this happening again? Yeah. Not now.
What? Okay. Here's his backstory. And I want to preface this by saying anybody who actually served in any kind of military combat situation or otherwise, or law enforcement or firefighting or anything that has potential for PTSD. If you have any PTSD experience, or if you're still having the symptoms, this isn't like a trigger warning thing. I just want to put it out there that we are not making fun of people who have this very serious issue that they deal with. However, the way they deal with it on this show is completely ridiculous. He was
not
like
tactful at all.
No, he's black, and he was a former like U.S. Air Force pilot. I don't know why. I don't know why he was or what he was supposed to be doing, because the only thing we see is him go on this like crazy mission where they have to like either target or protect some sort of nerve gas or some sort of gas in like these cans or barrels, and like it basically explodes in his face as he's piloting. I have no idea what is supposed to happen here, but he has PTSD from it, so he decides, hey, the best thing for me is to be like an ultimate NASCAR driver and get behind the wheel of these crazy cars going 300 miles an hour. So go back to your line again and explain what's going on with that.
So there are just multiple times when this PTSD begins to materialize where he is driving and he will, there's moments where he'll either stop the car or he's about to get on a bicycle, a motorbike. Yeah, not a bicycle.
I mean, either way.
He's about to get on a skateboard, and it's something where he'll put his hands out in front of him and he's just like, why is this happening now? And he gets very jittery. And like Dave said, if this is happening to you, please talk to somebody.
Don't get behind the wheel of a NASCAR racer.
Yeah, it's just, this stuff's so important, and and they handle this in such a poor way, and it felt insulting to anybody who has served in any military or paramilitary organization, that it was just sort of like a big kind of middle finger. And I we watched 3 episodes tonight. I hope the only redeeming thing about this show is that they continue to talk about some of the things that Flyer is going through, address them in a more tactful way, and actually talk about him getting help. That would be the only redeeming thing about this show.
Because all they've done so far is like laugh at him when he actually like has an episode and crashes his bike, or laugh at him when he almost explodes and dies and kills a bunch of people, or
shame him because he stopped his car at a certain point on the track when they were racing. Right. And Megan's just like, we have cameras that are all over this place and in the car. Yeah, we saw what happened.
But then they keep putting him back behind the wheel of the damn car. And like his literal way to get over all of this is to just keep pushing through it, which seems awful.
Not healthy.
Not helpful at all. So not great there. Another person who's not great, Carlos Ray, or Stunts, as they call him. He's got some weird backstory, but he tries to be this kind of like schmoozer. I don't know if he's supposed to be Hispanic, I'm assuming, or Mexican.
I'm assuming like
a Latino. He's like a Latino.
Yeah, like Latino,
boy.
Latino descent.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like,
sure,
we have a white guy, we have an African American, and we have like a Latin American
and a redheaded
person,
girl, which is obviously
and a redheaded
the most
girl,
minority
and like
of minorities.
And they're all working together like on the same team.
It's actually
that's kind of nice in types of diversity. It's a pretty decent job.
The worst part was as I was reading this and watching this, I was like, crap, I may have stolen some of this from my Centurion script. Which would be weird since I don't think I've ever seen this show. But like some of the names matched up and some of the like themes matched up, and definitely the diversity cast.
I wouldn't worry as much because, as we mentioned
not.
with Mark Charger, there's no personality there. With Flyer, it's just continually shaming him for something that he should not be ashamed of. And then for Carlos, it's this terrible machismo.
He's like Reza Ramon.
Yeah, like womanizing thing that he has. There's this the one line that I have for him is, "I couldn't have a girlfriend. It wouldn't be fair to the other girls." And I was like, no, pretty sure it would be.
Ladies.
Pretty sure it would be totally fine to everybody. But he's the one character that I felt on this show had the most personality.
I think the voice actor had a lot to do with that. Reno Romano is pretty good. He's done stuff in the DC universe. He's still active. So yeah, he's done pretty good. And Roger Cross, I mean, he's been around too. He voiced Flyer, but just not a lot of work to work with there, dude.
No.
Ray was fine. Like, his backstory is weird because apparently he was trying to win money from his NASCAR races to care for his ill father, but we see him literally hand over $1 million check.
Like, none of that comes across.
No.
Like, great backstory, great history.
I think they added it later.
Fun to know that he's got this motivation, but like Dave said, when he hands over $1 million check, you don't really understand what the stakes are, which is funny because one of the fucking episodes is
literally
called
Stakes.
The Stakes. Yeah. Like,
should have been called Mistakes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Speaking of mistakes, how do you feel about Duck Danaka, the crew chief?
He's fine. I thought he was okay.
He was all right. They walk a line with being a little too something with it. Is he Chinese? Is he Asian? What is he?
I mean, he's of Asian descent.
He's of Asian descent. I mean, they don't go into it.
It's hard because I feel like the writing that they had for this, especially with Tanaka and with Stunts, I feel like they just picked up really bad tropes.
Speaking of bad stereotypes and just bad characters in general, I really do want to talk about the quote-unquote villains of this piece for a little bit, just briefly. How do you feel about Lyle the Collector Owens?
I actually thought he was hilarious. Yeah. I thought he was great. I liked Owen a lot. I thought he was a total piece of shit. He's the collector because every time he causes a wreck of an opponent racer, he takes a trophy. I was like, that is some next level car vehicular manslaughter.
That's like serial killer shit. Yeah,
serial killer shit.
That was pretty messed up. He's like taking a piece of everyone's car to build like a corpse car at home that he's going to come out and like be Racer X and wear a weird mask. It's going to mash up like NASCAR and WWE, and I'm going to love it.
What was the Stephen King book
Carrie?
With
Christine.
killer cars?
Carrie and Christine. Carrie got in Christine, and they just went on they ripped ass across this great nation of ours.
Thank you for saying Carrie, because I knew it was the C word, and I was like, I don't think it's Christine. Carrie. I'm glad that we did exactly what I wanted
to do.
The worst part is that
I literally, this past week, even wrote up a new Dark Tower teaser trailer that goes through like all of King's, not all, but his most well-known movie adaptations. So Christine and Carrie were both on my mind. So there it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of some of these other guys, we don't get to learn too much about Hondo Spectre Hines, except that he's real creepy, and people are weirded out by him.
I sneak up on you like a ghost.
Let's talk about Zarina, though. How do you feel about Zarina?
She reminded me of the actress from Red Sonja.
Yeah, very much so. She was like a weird, she was like punk rock, blonde mohawk, ripping sleeves off of her clothes all the time, calling everybody baby for some reason. Just really aggressive. A strong take on that character for sure. Strong take.
I mean, it is straight Bridget Nielsen, and
yeah, totally fine.
I'm cool with that. I like that. again, I like the villains in this show. I'm rooting.
They had a lot more personality, a lot more fun, for sure.
They looked like they were enjoyable. I mean, she's got that barbed wire tattoo on her bicep. That's sweet. She's always flexing.
Owens. He comes in, he's like, "Hey, baby," and he asks her some like chauvinistic question, and she basically just like shoves dumbbells like into his gut. It's like, "You're not messing around with me." And then this guy comes in and smashes up his car. So he was 100% Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Junker. Do some Junker spits.
Yeah.
Yep. That's kind of all you need to know. He's fun.
DC Junker
Here comes my favorite character. So not Garner Rexton, not the big boss of RexCorp and like the master, pulling the strings behind everything that goes wrong at these NASCAR events. I'm talking about Specs. Because he's the RexCorp crew chief, so that's fine. He's also a fucking cyborg. Where did this come from? This dude walks in, right? He doesn't just walk in like a Centurion cyborg, like little bits of like metal pieces or whatever on him. He walks in with like a full like half face of metal, a giant television monitor like in his chest and abdomen with
sweet FaceTime
with Rexton on that monitor. He's walking around like Krang in his bodysuit, right? This guy is the bodysuit. He's like a cyborg bodyguard. I don't know what the hell. It was one of the weirdest things on this show, and it's full of weird stuff to begin with. What was your reaction to Specs?
For the couple seconds that we got to see him, I immediately wanted to know more because it was the most interesting thing, and they explain, and we'll talk about this during the plot of these episodes. There are interesting things that come up, and they explain nothing.
They just roll with it and go right to the next
Not
thing.
at all.
And speaking of that,
Yeah. Because you're left there sitting, I would like to learn a little bit more about this. I would like to double down on this interesting concept. And they're like, nope.
Give me this disc of information you've stolen from the other team and let's get to work. And it's not like this guy's like confined to like some like fortress or something. He's out and about. He's doing dealings. He's out in the world. I don't know why he has to use this man with a television embedded in his chest to walk around. We had cell phones at this point. Maybe they weren't smartphones, but my God. You took a man. You took a homeless man. And I'm assuming this is Specs' background. You took a homeless man, liquored him up, carved him up, and then put a television in his guts, and then covered him up with like tinfoil and like aluminum plating and put him back together. And now he's like your little personal butler guy. I'm assuming that's how it worked.
Okay.
From my own experiments, that's how it worked.
The funniest thing was that he opens up his hand at some point, and a mini disc player comes out of it.
Why do we need that?
And the thing that's hilarious, the first thought that I had is, how does he upgrade for newer formats of technology? I was like, what is he doing here? How is this going to happen? Who wants to permanently have a mini disc player in your hand?
Specs 1.0 had that laser disc player in his hand, and it was just like obnoxious to carry that thing around. It's huge.
Oh, just a giant paw. Like a catcher's mitt. Yikes.
Oh, God. Man, I don't want to get too bogged down into the plot details because they're kind of non-existent. It's sort of like they're rival teams. They undermine each other. They race against each other. Crazy shit happens. Pretty much it. But I have a lot of questions. So let's see if maybe we can get through some of them with this. My first question for you is,
all right,
how do you take, arguably, the world's most boring spectator sport and turn it into a cartoon for kids?
I mean... To answer your question, you don't. You don't.
You can't.
I think that a better strategy would have been to sort of focus and very heavily on maybe not evolving or trying to elevate the sport of NASCAR in this, but maybe the family component inside that's relatable as an anchor point, and then very tertiary to what the plot is, then add in the cars, or maybe it's something where it's a family of, a legendary NASCAR family, and they adopt a kid, or there's a young son, or somebody who's attempting to become a driver for the first time, and it's sort of the trials and understanding some of the things that are involved, and having all those learning experiences along the way. You don't drop us in to a show where suddenly they talk about the fact that there's something called NASCAR Unlimited, and then you never explain what NASCAR Unlimited is. That's the whole fucking idea behind your show. And you don't explain or define it a single fucking time. You just take it for granted that people are just like, yeah, well, it's NASCAR and it's unlimited. I'm like, well, you can't actually define what a thing is by just repeating the two words of the thing that you want to define and just saying them with a different emphasis. Like, that's so maddening, because they could have said, like, you know what, we're trying to soup up cars. Like if the top speed for like a certain car is X, we're doing X plus like 500.
Or like cutting edge,
you know,
tech, or just like things that haven't been vetted for regular NASCAR yet, or just like extreme. Even call it like NASCAR Extreme. I don't care, because that's a very 90s thing to do. But at least explain it. Tell us what you're doing. But what they ended up doing was just like complete garbage. I think. Yeah.
You have this entire motosphere thing that you never
used
talk
it once,
about.
And that was
What is
the
it?
Opening scene, the opening race.
It's
which
really
wasn't even a
cool
real race.
looking, and it looks like a
it was 5 minutes into it where I was just like, oh, you're gonna pull that on me already? I don't think I want to watch anymore. They were in this race in like this motorsphere, which, think of it like the cage of death, like with the motorcycles going around at like a monster truck show or whatever, where there's like 3 motorcycles going around inside this like sphere, this metal sphere, right? Think of that on like massive scale, like massive arena scale. And these race cars are somehow going up the side and like around the edges of this thing. And it was a cool idea. It was a cool concept. They never use it again. They might after episode 3, but they never use it again. And they only use it for about 20 seconds in this thing. And then it turns out, how can they do all this stuff? They're in a fucking simulation. It's not even a real race.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
That's really one of those things where you say to yourself when you're writing this, like, do I want to hit with this up front, or do I want to pull this back for maybe like a punch later on? And the answer is always, yeah, pull that back for a punch later on. Don't lead with that.
Especially if it's just like everything you've just seen is fake. So if you liked what you've seen so far, I apologize, but it's fake. That leads me to kind of my next question. What the F are the rules for these races? It seems like anything goes. Are they unlimited? What's the deal?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, is that, again, there's no definition for this. And so at a very high level, these cars have some portion of the back end of the vehicle that opens up to expose what looks like afterburners from like a jet, from a jet engine that deploy out in sort of what we mentioned earlier, like a mask style situation where it gives them additional speed. And then it seems like everybody in their car additionally has a special thing that they can do where like their car can fly, or we have stunts. He can like shoot a booster out of like one side of his car and go up on the side. So he's sort of at an angle when he's driving. We've got our flyer has the ability to like sort of take off with wings, which in a lot of these situations, like, okay, that seems kind of interesting, but then you have a flying car versus a ground
and that's my
bound
main
vehicle.
Question is like, just fly to the finish line and you're done if there's no rules. Like, you win every time.
It seems like it's a total cheat move that nobody executes. I'm like, this is Mario Kart rules, buddy. Like, you got to get to the end.
Yeah.
Any means necessary. Who cares?
Go out of bounds, whatever you glitch it, whatever you need.
But it even goes further to the point where cars that are almost completely junked can then be pushed
that was a
across
whole
the
other
finish
thing.
line?
That was a Talladega Nights thing. I was waiting for that 80s song to start playing. That was a whole mess. What I like though is that they also have like gladiatorial combat, right? So they've got like the spikes that shoot out of their tires, or they've got grappling hooks that like rip people's bumpers off. It's like, what is going on here, guys? You pick one thing and go with it, not everything. They'll just throw everything together and then show us it's a simulation, so I still don't know what the hell's real and what's not. If you're going to make a NASCAR cartoon and not make it about the characters, because nobody cares about them, and not make it about the cars, because they're all trash, and not make it about the the races, because there's no rules, then literally what are the stakes? What am I watching? Why am I watching it?
I found myself asking that same question for an hour today when I watched this program.
Yeah. Here's an easy one for you. Do lockers need to be spring-loaded?
Absolutely not.
Do you need to open your locker door and have your jumpsuit smash you in the face because it's on a spring-loaded arm?
The thing that I was curious about, well, to answer your question, absolutely not. But what I was curious about is how many times are these people doing costume changes? Is this something where, like a triathlon when you're running from different portion of the race to the next portion, you might take off, and you might exchange for something else. It's I'm going to take off my swim cap because I'm now done with the swim portion and I'm about to enter into the bike portion. So I'm going to put on shoes. There's no changing.
You don't get out of the car. There's no surprise races that show up. Maybe in Unlimited there are. That would have been an interesting wrinkle. But no, you don't need to have your jumpsuit smash you in the face because you need to save a couple of seconds changing. And that's not going to help anyway because it's just going to knock you cold.
The best part was that I'm really hoping that in the Unlimited idea or mindset that there's a fashion or a swimsuit portion where suddenly you need to do a quick turnaround
the Olympics
costume
episode,
change.
The NASCAR Olympics. Yeah, Megan's going to kill that one.
Something that would actually necessitate having that, because I'll be honest with you, if my clothes were spring-loaded in my closet every day, I'd have a concussion.
Stop wearing clothes.
There's no reason.
Stop using the closet. I don't know which one I'd do, but either.
Dave, you and I both work at home often, and you haven't.
No, because there's cameras everywhere. So.
Oh, damn.
You never know.
Incentive.
You never know until people start paying. So I got no segue for this. So let's talk about Megan briefly. You mentioned her earlier. She kind of is our Racer X in this scenario. What's going on with her? How do they work her into the plot?
As we mentioned, adoptive daughter, which does not register or is communicated at any point. She is the engineer behind all of these cars, and then the way that they sort of Racer X is that there is there's a simulation that is up on one of the monitors where you see this one car that is doing exceedingly well, if not better, than the other three goofballs that have been hired as race car drivers.
And you never see it during the race. You only focus on these guys. But clearly this thing has been lapping them and just being totally fine the whole time.
And there is there's no record or name that's associated with the test. There's no additional data that's up there. But yet this person is just killing it. And the second they did that, I was like, please don't play coy. And then they play coy for another 15 minutes. And you're just like, why have you guys been playing coy this whole time?
We get it. You literally introduced no other characters. There's no one else it could have been, unless it was going to be a mystery character who randomly broke their way into your testing facility and tested for you, and then went invisible and ran away. What else are we thinking?
If it had been that scenario, I would have been interested. If it was something where the person shows up in the car, steps out, and then removes its helmet, and it turns out it's a mutant or an alien, or oh my god, a fucking ghost would be Ghost Racer.
It'd be a combination of Ghost
I would have
Rider
so
and
much
Speed
fun
Racer, and I'd love it, and it'd be great. Or Casper, if he wanted to do something with his life, death.
He was just like, "Hey guys, I was looking for my fox friend, and I decided to do NASCAR."
That Charger ran him over.
I've been like, well, that's a sad story, but
on with the NASCAR. No, I would have loved it if it was an actual Racer X thing where it was some random rogue racer that came in and either helped people or saved the day or just won a race randomly. That doesn't have to make sense. But to pretend it's not going to be Megan, guess what? Spoiler alert, it's fucking Megan. We get it.
Yeah. Ugh. And they hint so heavily at it that it especially in the scenes where you see the car out there lapping and racing and stuff. And,
I think Duck was well aware too.
He was super, super aware because he's playing coy like a jerk, and you're just just somebody say it. Which I want to ask the question. We see Duck at some point turn on the cars. All right. Now, some of the cars have push button ignitions. Some of the other cars have key-based ignitions. I'm confused now about how cars work.
The answer lies in how terrible Megan is as an engineer.
Sure, that makes
on one hand, she comes
sense.
up with some cool stuff, but on the greater hand, I don't think that metaphor works. They're terrible, and they don't work, and they wreck everybody's car in not fun ways. Just it'd be like watching a NASCAR race, and seeing somebody like stop in the middle of the track because they ran out of gas or because they fell asleep. Like, it's just boring. Like, there's not even anything fun about it. Like, yeah, the engine overheating and possibly wiping out hundreds of people is kind of fun, but it's also like a pretty fatal flaw. Dude. You know what I mean? No, it was like a speed scenario. Like, this thing happens with Flyer when he's in the race. There's stuff on the track, so they throw out a caution flag, which means everybody has to stay below the pace car, below the speed of the pace car, which I don't even know if it existed in this show. But they stay below the speed of the pace car, and they can't pass everybody. So everybody stays in their current position. If you're first, fifth, or dead last, you stay in that position as you go around the lap. Well, Flyer can't because his car is, for whatever reason, like the throttle's stuck and he's just going. So then he's like, well, I'm going to try to stop. And they're like, don't do that or your car will explode. I'm like, what the fuck kind of fatal design flaw are you guys riding around out there on like your big media day and you're going to blow up? And then the worst line, I think, from Jack. So Flyer's like, well, I guess I can just go open throttle till it runs out of gas. He's like, no, it's going to blow up then too. And if you're in the arena, you're going to kill hundreds of people. He's like, I can't order you to sacrifice your life. But if it explodes here, then he kind of just shrugs at him. So, of course, Flyer's just like, I'll take it out. I'll take it out somewhere safe. And God bless everyone. Just like, this guy's go kill himself, basically.
Well, I mean, they Dukes of Hazzard it through the entire city.
I did like, there was one funny joke with that when they busted through the parking garage and it lingered on that gate for a second and then the ticket still spit out and they were like, take your ticket with you. That was pretty good. One laugh in 90 minutes of cartoon. Not great, guys. Here's two things. I got two things for you. Two things I think every kid's cartoon absolutely needs. In a 3-part movie, every 20 minutes, you definitely need a 5-minute sequence telling you what you just watched in the previous 20 minutes.
Okay.
Please.
Can I dig into this? Okay. So the first episode, as we mentioned, we sort of get dumped right in the middle of this VR experiment. So as we mentioned, the theme song of this show is 30 seconds long. So second episode, to set the stage, this is the order of operations for everything. 30-second theme song that's trash, followed by 2 minutes and 30 seconds of this is what happened on the previous episode, but there is never a bump or a title card previously that says, previously on NASCAR Unlimited. There is nothing to indicate to you that they are in any way, shape, or form trying to recap everything that's there. It is just a smash cut of like key, which I'm saying key in air quotes, like key or essential plot points that they're just like, we're about to come back to these right now, so pay attention. And then it drops you into the actual show 2 minutes and 30 seconds later. Yeah. That happened twice. I was
confused floored. And then I was very angry. Because at first I was like, wait, are they racing again? Wait, are they fighting again? Wait, is he going to be on the team again?
I'm so angry because that is lazy fucking planning. That is lazy fucking exposition. That's lazy editing.
It's fine. If you want to add an explainer of the previous episode on it, fine. Put the title cards in there. Cut it down to 30 seconds, please. And then get on with the show. It's just not great. Hey, you know what else? You know what else kids love? They love sequences of a show where a character goes to argue about a bank loan from Enorma Bank.
All right.
and then
I think that
corporate espionage and
Bank,
financial solvency comes into play. Kids love that.
I really think that this is probably my final thought or take on all three of these episodes. But if the main idea that you have for your company that has recklessly destroyed multiple prototypes is that you took out an enormous bank loan in order to fund this thing that really nobody seems to be clamoring for until actual race day, when it seems like
there's one guy out in the RV park watching with his binoculars.
Right. Right. Not to mention the fact that all the audiences, when they fill them in, it's all the CG animated stuff. But it's just like a wave of color in the grandstands, and it's just, again, lazy. So if the point of your show, or the stakes, as we've mentioned, which I think is the name of the second episode,
is the third one.
Is that the real stakes behind this show are that they are on the verge of bankruptcy and basically narrowly making it through all of these races. Guess what? You have developed and designed a business plan that's going to 100% fail. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you are aware how revenue actually works, but you can't actually have, like, you bring in money because of all the tickets that are there, but all that money from those tickets is basically just, like, you don't have any actual
They
profit
literally, at the end, when they
from that
have,
revenue.
there's like the owner who gets a cut of the winnings, which it makes sense in a league. Doesn't 100% make sense when there's only two teams vying back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when the winning team has to pay the owner of the other team, and that's still not enough to cover his loan. Like, if you're gonna do it, and if you're gonna half-ass it, then just leave it out, because it was kind of ridiculous.
I think that if you're trying to tell a kid who's probably watching this maybe with like a NASCAR enthusiast parent, that if you're trying to relate to their struggles by digging into financial means, you have completely missed the mark.
Agreed.
And guess what? I don't care about your rich white people
too.
fucking problems. I don't give two shits. Oh, I gave away $1 million check. Fuck yourself.
That whole thing was just kind of like whatever. A couple other minor things before we wrap this up, thankfully, for the night. So there's something weird going on with Jack and his wife Libby, and then Rexton, because when Libby approaches Jack and they like kiss after the race, because everybody's happy and they won and whatever. It's like, we're not in debt anymore. We finally broke even. Rexton is watching from a distance with like binoculars, just like creepily standing in his suit in the shadows, just like watching with binoculars. And he's just like, Libby. I'm like, okay, well, that's a great place to leave that creepy fucking scene. Oh, what's up with that? Yep. I know he kidnaps her later with bounty hunters. Neat.
I mean, I feel like what he's trying to do is just assess weakness for all these characters, because like you said, he's trying to find leverage to be this tyrannical businessman, which, guess what? You don't have to be
you just
tyrannical.
have to be slightly smarter than this other idiot guy.
No, you don't even have to be slightly smarter. You just have to wait for their business to fail.
Stop giving them loans.
I can't believe that.
How about stop feeding your competition with money?
I just want to say that I want to make the analogy that the ending of this first race that we see is perfectly illustrates everything about this failed NASCAR business plan, which is we are just pushing just one car slowly
while another one
over
lurches
the
awkwardly
line.
In the background. It's CG animation.
It's the perfect analogy for how this show works.
So the first episode was called The Real Thing. They open with a fake race. The second episode was called Stakes. We have no idea what is going on in this entire episode, so we don't have any clue what the stakes are. The third episode is called Heroes. Everyone's an asshole, so I don't know why these titles don't line up. One final thing, I think. Possibly my favorite part of the whole 3 episodes that we watched. Flyer has just survived this like terrible, super traumatic ordeal. Yet another one in his life. He survived by like launching a multi-million-dollar car off of a cliff and then launching out and being saved by like a grab, whatever. He's survived. He gets home to see his wife or girlfriend, and he goes up to her after they've won the race. His buddies won the race. He goes up to her and like holds her close, says, "I was afraid I'd never see you again." And they have like a beat, and then he looks up on stage, and she's like, "It's okay, you can go up on stage." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you had one like emotional moment where like something real was happening, and she's like, "It's okay, go up on stage, because that's much more important." He didn't win. He didn't do anything. He just didn't blow up.
Yeah. Flyer's girlfriend is named Lori.
I feel bad for her. For having to be in the show.
She should leave him.
But yeah, leave him for his stunts.
Leave him. She should have. No, because as they've mentioned, she does not like racing, which I feel like that's one of those things that when you're trying to match somebody on a dating website, maybe be like, "Hey, I don't like racing, but he's so dreamy." But you know what? The thing you hate is the thing he does.
And he loves it so much that he's willing to struggle through crippling PTSD every day of his life to not race well.
That's brutal.
He's not good. Look, man, it's just like,
I don't care if
you were a fighter pilot. Like, you're not good. If you freeze up behind the wheel of the car,
you need.
You're not a good racer. It's not rocket science.
Look, people care about you. People want you to do well. Get the help you NASCAR. Need. This is ridiculous.
Go be a husband.
Oh, God. You know what? we very
we got
clearly have
opinions. We're about to
opinions
drop them
about
in a
this
little
show. Yeah, we're about to drop them in a second. But first, we're gonna jump into a little bit
Which
of
one you wanna
love it
take
or
this week?
hate it. So you know what? I'm gonna take the first one. All right. So we've got this is from Mark Moore, which thank you for putting your
If you want to email him,
account
email us and we'll send it to you.
Yeah, he's from Florida. This
hold
is
on,
in
you gotta
2001.
say
It
the
says,
name where he's from.
Homosassa?
Homosassa.
Homosassa, Florida, and this is 2001. It says awesome, high energy racing action. I'm not a racing fan, but I love this series. The characters all have unique personalities and great detail, except for the lack of mentions of their age or birth dates. I really love the girls. My favorite character is Megan Spitfire Fassler. The futuristic cars are awesome. I suggest you watch this series. Even if you're not a racing fan, you'll love NASCAR Racers.
NASCAR Racers. Come on.
Racers, come on.
I feel like this guy wrote for the show. Had to.
I
right,
assume
let's
as
get
much.
to a difference of opinion here from Zor2 from Nelson, North Carolina. Not NASCAR. This show is so awful, and it's a shame to share the name NASCAR with this show and real NASCAR teams and fans. NASCAR, as the creator of this show must not know, stands for National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. I don't know what the hell it's supposed to stand for in this show, except for maybe that they drive cars, if you can call those flying machines cars. It has nothing in common at all with NASCAR. It's an insult to NASCAR and an example of the greed in sports today that this show ever saw the light of day. It's like a really bad episode of the old Speed Racer, Transformers, and the Power Rangers. I hope no kids watching this think that NASCAR racing is anything like this stupid show. I don't think it's a stretch to say we probably land with Zor on this one. But what do you think, buddy? Do you recommend this show? And if not, does it get the dip? Now, please remind our listeners out there what the dip is.
Sure. So if anybody's familiar with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the dip is something that we've instituted that if you do not recommend a cartoon, you can dip this cartoon into the dip and erase it from the annals of cartoon history. So we've had some cartoons that have been dipped in the past, such as Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Only a cup. One is still pending, right?
Yeah, one the verdict is out on. That was the newer version of Berserk.
We got to circle back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to talk to Evan about it.
We dipped Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and
Emergency Plus 4.
deserving of the dip. So what say you for NASCAR Racers?
Oh man, this is hard.
Is it?
I don't recommend this. I didn't find it engaging. I didn't find it interesting. I felt that a lot of it was very poorly and lazily done and crafted together. So I don't recommend this, and I'm also gonna give this the dip.
Caleb. And double
sorry, Caleb.
Double sorry, Caleb, because this is the hardest I've ever wanted to dip a show since we've instituted the dip. There is nothing to this show that I can recommend. It's a hard dip.
I want to point out very quickly that if you want to understand how bad this cartoon is, there is one episode where it's almost the entirety of the episode. This is episode 3. Is just a press event.
It's hors d'oeuvres and fights
up food and hors d'oeuvres.
Archival footage of NASCAR races in the background,
and that's it.
And then exploding cars. It's not good.
It's not good, guys.
That's a hard dip.
That's it.
So up to 3.5 dips. That's not bad out of 166 episodes. Granted, we've only been doing it for 20, 40. Yeah. Sorry, Caleb. Better luck next time, bud. But thanks for the suggestion. All right, buddy. That's going to wrap it up for this one. What you got?
I will say really quick that if Caleb, if you do have a particular episode that you want us to watch that you feel would turn our minds about this show, we will gladly watch it and recap it on a different episode. So we will tweet at you to let you know.
Yeah, maybe let it be like a little bonus content or something at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we should give listeners out there, that's an idea. Man, once we dip something, that sucker's dipped. But I feel like if we get enough listeners out there to raise us think about something that we've dipped, if they can get like one kind of, I can't think of a metaphor to pull it back out.
Like a dip redemption,
like a sensu beam
redemption
for cartoons or something like that. Yeah, I like dip redemption though.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna need some pretty strong extreme circumstances though. So good luck. But if you feel good about it, give it a shot, man. Give it a shot. We'll see what we can do. I'm like the Judge Doom of this scenario here. I don't screw around.
It's all right.
That's right.
Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. All right. Well,
what
hey
you
guys,
got going on, buddy?
Oh man, hey. So I do live improv comedy in Washington D.C. with a group that's called NOX. That's NOX for Washington Improv Theater. We're performing all the time, and you can find tickets and showtimes at witdc.org. And also, as this is coming out, I organize and run an annual festival that's in DC that brings in about 40 different improv troupes from all across the country, as well as also Canada, giving us that international flair. You can check this out. It is called the District Improv Festival, districtimprov.org. We have tickets that are going on right now, and the entire festival is going to be in DC at the Source Theater from September 6th to the 9th. And as I mentioned, it'll be at the Source Theater and also the Unified Scene Theater for those 4 days. So check it out, and if you're interested in coming, it'd be great to see you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis.
He sure is. And don't worry about writing down that information, especially if you're driving behind your NASCAR Ultimate whatever the hell racer. We're going to have all that on our website, so you don't have to worry about it. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at DrClawMD. You can also find me on Collider.com, Nerdist.com, and DaveTrumbore.com. If you want to find out more about our show, please head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also check us out on our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Find us on Twitter at MorningToons. Check out Sean's handiwork on our Instagram page. Keep the conversation going on Facebook. And listen to our free audio podcast each and every week through YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. As always, if you want some dip redemption or you just want to suggest another terrible cartoon, drop us a line, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. We'd love to tell you what's coming up next week, but we can't unless you subscribe to our Patreon, which means you got our newsletter. However, it's going to be another listener suggestion, so it's probably going to be a lot of fun for them and a lot of pain for us. Hey, but at least we started with a low bar here, so maybe it'll get better.
Yeah.
Caleb, sorry again.
Yeah, sorry, Caleb.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you next time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.